And welcome to Globewatch with me, Charles Ebune, from Brazzaville, capital of the Republic of Congo, a country with about 5 million people and being part of the second largest natural forest ecosystem in the world, the Congo Basin. One of the justifications for the country of Denis Sassou Nguesso to be host just like 12 years ago of the second edition of the Summit of the Three Basins, which brought together the Borno Mekong in Southeast Asia, the Amazon in the Latin America, and of course the Congo Basin, which literally translates to global efforts to mull climate change, meaning ecological diplomacy is one of the key tenets of the entire international system today. How far are countries of the three basins determined to use their potential in regulating the decarbonization of the world? At least 3,000 participants were here in the Congolese capital to take part in the second edition of the Summit of the Three Basins, with not less than 8 presidents, including President Tshisekedi of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. My guest today on Globewatch, the first is the Colombian Minister of Foreign Affairs, who outlines just how strategic his country is in the Three Basins Commissions, but equally the ecological diplomacy worldwide. The Colombian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Alvaro Leyva Duran, thank you very much indeed for talking to the Cameroon Radio Television.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm very pleased to talk to you and to throughout you to your country.
My first question to you is that we are here in Brazzaville, the capital of the Congo Republic, which is host to the second edition of the Summit of the Three Basins. How important is this summit to a country of yours like Colombia?
It's very important because we belong to one of them, to the Amazon. We're 8 different countries all around the Amazon, and Colombia is a very unique country. We are 1,250,000 square kilometers, our land, and even though if we are not 1% of the solid earth, we have almost 20%, a little bit less, of the biodiversity of the world. It's incredible. So we're very unique, and we're very proud of it, and we're very conscious about what's going on in the world. Either we save the earth, or we're bound to disappear as a species. So this is what it's all about, and this is why we are here, and this is why I came.
Mr. Minister, Colombia, like you said, is part of the Amazon rainforest, which is, of course, the largest natural rainforest in the world and a great stabilizer of the fight against climate change. How much of the Amazon forest is found in your country, Colombia?
Maybe a little bit more, in between 10%, more or less, which is not much. But it's not the area that counts. It's the affluents. The main affluents are Colombian. Okay, so we kind of have a great investment there. Our waters make the Amazon, and this is something that it has no price. But we have to be aware that whatever happened to our rivers, whatever happens to our forest, we're talking about a big part of the Amazon forest, has to do with our future, with future generations. Either we take care of all this in combination with what we're doing here. We're 3 in the world, and we represent the 80% of the world in terms of possible life. Not only the river, even though it's not the largest river, I'm talking about the Congo, it's the deepest. So it makes one thing for another. So this is very important to be aware of. Either we get together and we work together and we worry together, or the planet, it will eventually disappear, and very, very soon. So we're not talking about the life of a living planet, but the life of the human beings. So this is a big challenge we have in front of us.
One but last question. There is much talk about climate change around the world today as one of the greatest threats to humanity, and each country has its own policy towards climate change. Can you outline to me the Colombian climate change policy?
Well, it's as it is everywhere, but this is something that it has to be, we have to think about. We have very good scientists, as you find them all over the place. Even here you have a lot of good people who is very much aware of what is happening. We have very good historians, anthropologists. We have people who are shrewd, intelligent. They studied, they make advances in science and technology, all related with the biodiversity. But it's not a matter of having money or having this human richness. It's a matter of politics. What's going on in the world has to do with politics. Either we take the decision, even we become the planet's voice. The planet it can't protest. The planet is a victim, and we are some sort of a victims, but it is better to decide politically, and we can stand up the front of the rich countries, because they lack what we have. So in a way, we're richer than them. And we have to be aware of this, to say no more, stop. We're talking about the planet, and we're talking about the human race. So there's a big political issues behind it, and this is something that we have to be aware of.
And finally, Mr. Minister, Colombia is one of the big names in Latin America. What subject do you think is of global and regional importance to your country today?
Well, the planet change, what's going on? We ruin it, but not only with the physical wars that are going on, like Russia, Ukraine, now in the Middle East, but it's multiplying. We haven't been able to solve this problem. If we can solve a problem which has to do with us, how can we solve a problem that has to do with nature? This is something very complicated, and we must do something about it right away.
Thank you very much, Madam, for talking to me on Globewatch.
It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
You and I are here in Brazzaville, Congo, for the second edition of the Summit of the Three Basins, that is the Amazon, the Borno Mekong in Southeast Asia, and naturally, the Congo Basin. Can you reflect as a member of the WWF on this summit?
Thank you so much. We are at such a critical moment when it comes to our world's forests, and this Three Basin Summit is happening at the right time for the forested countries of our world to come together and to think about the challenges that we're facing collectively and to take action. These three basins cover 80% of the world's tropical forests, and they contain 2/3 of our terrestrial biodiversity. So they're absolutely critical for the web of life. And this is an incredible start This is an incredible start to that deepening of collaboration that needs to happen, that collective tackling of those challenges together and laying out an action plan for the future together and their own agenda, the forested countries coming together around their agenda.
As the Worldwide Fund for Nature, what is the link that you have with such an event?
So WWF is active in all of the countries in the 3 basins. So we are a partner to many governments. We are working with communities on the ground around implementation of conservation programs and working with a variety of partners, including the private sector, and really working on programs that benefit local communities. So we are very involved on implementation. We're also involved at the policy level. So working with governments on national policies, working at policy at the global level around climate, around forests, around food systems, all of those, fresh water, yes.
I know that one of the key activities of the Worldwide Fund for Nature is to protect the natural environment through the preservation of the species which are found in forest areas around the world, for example. When you look at the nature of what is happening to our forest in the world today, what kind of information does WWF have that indicates that we are in a critical situation, which you just indicated?
Thank you, yeah. So every year, we and other civil society organizations get together and work on the Forest Declaration Assessment, which is really an indication of where we are on our forests in terms of deforestation, in terms of conservation, in terms of restoration. And unfortunately, we're not on the right track. We are 21% off track to meet our global goal of halting deforestation by 2030. And deforestation in 2022 actually increased from 2021. So we absolutely have to come together to figure out how we can collectively rise to this challenge and how we can help provide alternative economic pathways for countries that don't involve cutting down more trees and actually involve restoring our forests. That's what we need. We need economic models that accelerate restoration, that provide incentives to local communities, to smallholders, to move in that direction.
I read the document produced by President Denis Sassou Nguesso, which welcomed all participants here. And in that document, it is indicated somewhere that about 35 million hectares of forested areas around the world are in danger, and that to preserve and protect them, we need roughly $1 trillion of investment. You spoke a while ago the importance of partnership. One of the stakes of the gathering here is how to produce a suitable financing mechanism for these areas. Where does WWF come in to encourage and mobilize resources?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's absolutely key. I mean, when we look at the challenges, this is one of the big ones. This is right up there at the top.
Okay.
And we are working quite actively in this space. We're working on existing finance mechanisms like project finance for permanence. That's PFPs. That is something that we have worked on over the years in places like Brazil and Colombia. And that is really around coming together as coalitions of partners with governments to provide a stream of permanent financing for protected areas for that government over time, and the institutional governance that goes along with it, working with the government and with other civil society groups, both in country and outside of the country. So that's one mechanism we have, but we need so much more. There's a lot of interest in reforming carbon markets as one source of finance, and we're actively involved in that conversation about, is there a way to really shift things towards more high integrity on the carbon markets front? But we also need new finance mechanisms that enable governments to make the right choices and also get finance to local communities and benefit people who are at the front lines of these questions and decisions that are made every day around.
One but last question. What are the key priorities? What are the projects that WWF is working on now, currently, worldwide, in your entire network?
Yeah, thank you. So one of those is, so we are building off of the Global Biodiversity Framework that was signed last year. And so we are in implementation mode, working with partners, with governments on helping to implement the 23 targets that are embodied in that framework, and really getting to action, getting to implementation around the Global Biodiversity Framework. But finance is also a key part of that. And so that's another big priority. And we're thinking in terms of innovative finance, we're also thinking about direct finance mechanisms to indigenous peoples and local communities, and really trying to enable that sort of financial flow to take place and the enabling conditions that are needed to help make that happen. So, part of it is about empowering local people and recognizing indigenous rights to own and manage their lands, territories, and resources.
Finally, you have used the word working with local communities, local people. For the past 61 years, how much impact have you had? Because that is where the key is, because you need to work. If you tell somebody that don't cut the trees, you need to provide an alternative. How impactful has that been?
I feel like we've been very impactful. We have worked with governments, we have worked with communities on extensive networks of protected areas in many parts of the world. We have worked on new tools and platforms like certification programs that have had huge impacts around the world. We've worked on policy frameworks like the Global Biodiversity Framework, like the Paris Agreement. Many of these these policy platforms that have shifted the narrative, and we've worked with the private sector as well to really improve practices, to help to have their supply chains really benefit local people and get to the ground to improve conservation outcomes and social outcomes.
And with that, we conclude the interview. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. Patrick Epie, welcome to Globewatch.
Thank you very much, Mr. Charles. And
fundamentally,
thank you for inviting me.
Fundamentally, you are one of the numerous organizations present here in Congo for the summit of the three basins. Forest for all, forever. What does it mean?
Forest for all, forever is actually a slogan. The name of our organization is the Forest Stewardship Council, FSC. And it's all about forest stewardship and forest governance, promoting environmentally sound, socially responsible, and economically viable forest management globally. That's what we stand for.
What makes your structure different from all the other environmental networks for natural ecosystem preservation?
We have a very robust system for forest certification, and it's regarded by many as one of the most robust in terms of forest stewardship and forest governance and production forest setting. It enables those who get certified FSC to access markets, sustainable markets for timber and on other forest products. So that's what we bring to the table in a nutshell.
You must have, or you could have taken another area for environmental protection. You would have been in the fight against climate change. You would have been in wildlife protection. Why essentially are you focused in forest preservation?
Because production forest is, has a great potential, first of all, in the Congo Basin. I would just use the Congo Basin as an example. There's about 50 million hectares of forest under production setting, and FSC has supported partners to, we are around 5.8 million certified forests in the Congo Basin. Forest production, if not done correctly, leads to deforestation significantly. So that's why we think we should be a key player in that sector.
There is much talk of environmental governance and forest governance. I read the statement of President Denis Sassou Nguesso welcoming all those present here that we need an instrumentum laboris to protect roughly 350 million of hectares of forest which are endangered today, maybe due to human activity and the fallouts of climate change. Is that something that interests you in your council?
Definitely. It's a big interest. The Congo Basin is the second largest tropical forest land in the world. And recently, we just saw the representative from COMIFAC in his presentation. He mentioned that it's now the biggest carbon sink in terms of tropical forests. It has now advanced the Amazon. So it's definitely a hotspot, an ecological hotspot that is key and crucial for humanity, not just Africa or the Congo Basin. So we have definitely got interest in the Congo Basin. We have priorities. We hope to achieve, according to our 2021-2026 strategy, we are hoping to achieve at least 10 million hectares of certified forest by 2026. And it's a kind of an interim objective. The long-term objective is by 2030 to get to 15 million hectares.
When you talk of forest certification to an ordinary viewer, what should he or she understand by that?
It's just a system that enables those who are into forest production, like timber and other forest products, to provide that guarantee to the end user of the timber that the timber is being sourced or has been sourced from a forest that has been responsibly managed. Because there are other markets out there, I don't want to call any names, but there are other markets that don't care about compliance to regulations and laws, indigenous people's rights, the rights of local communities, people's workers' rights. But our system provides that guarantee that indigenous people's rights, for example, have been respected. The workers that are working in that forest concession, their social rights and everything are respected. The timber is sourced in a very sustainable manner. That's this low impact logging, for example. So all of that, that's what our system provides to the global community, but to the person, to an end user, it provides them that opportunity to contribute to the fight against biodiversity loss and climate change by sourcing for products that are FSC certified.
The Congolese president equally says that at least $1 trillion of investment is needed to protect the Amazon, the Borno-Mekong forest in Southeast Asia, and the Congo Basin. You are part of what they call the lobbying group to ensure that the forest natural ecosystems are preserved. Yeah. How critical are summits like the one in Brazzaville in mobilizing resources as a clarion call for action?
It is definitely very critical, because I'm looking forward to the end results. I understand as part of this is set up mechanisms to raise funding for the 3 basins at scale. And for us at FSC, it's definitely an opportunity to lobby, and because we definitely think we are already doing a lot, but we definitely think there's room to do more, and we would like to do more.
You said that you already do much already.
Yeah.
Over the years, what have you been doing with the slogan, Forest for All Forever? What have you done to show that you are really engaged in this forest preservation?
Yeah, there's a kind of an assembly of tools FSC provides. It provides for forest management units to be certified.
What are those tools that you use?
I would say the first one is our forest management unit certification.
Okay.
It provides for forest management units like large concessions to be certified. Across in the Congo Basin, like I told you, we are around 5.8, close to 6 million.
How many memberships do you get globally, are you?
We have a membership program that allows people from the general public to subscribe to become a member of FSC. And it's completely open. You just have to respond to a few criteria.
Okay.
So the FM Forest Management Certification is just one of them. We have a chain of custody certification fleet. And we also have promotional licenses and also use of our trademarks. So you see, if you go to shelves even in Brazzaville, you would find products that have the FSC logo. It shows that product, perhaps if it's just the label, it shows that labeling has been produced using materials that are sourced from responsibly managed forests.
When you look at your African program in particular, what are the challenges you face in implementing them?
Yeah,
and with whom do you partner?
Yeah, we partner. I will start with the second part of the question. We partner with governments. We partner with private companies. We partner with communities that are holders of community forests, for example. We partner with agri-businesses. We are trying to get into natural rubber certification, for example. So we partner with a lot of different stakeholders. It's a system that allows for different parts of the global population to be involved and to support the fight against climate change and biodiversity loss.
And with that, we conclude the interview. Patrick Epie, thank you very much indeed for being guest on my program.
It's my pleasure.
You're welcome.
Thanks.